my name's Maeve and I turned 20 in like 2 weeks. And I got to Fulshear Halloween of 2022, and I left September 29th of 2023. So I was there almost 11 months. I guess just start why I went there. I have been in and out of treatment since I was 12. It started off with like suicide attempts and stuff like that. And then it translated or moved into like addiction. And that was like the primary area of treatment that I was in from ages like 16 to 18. I believe I went to 19 different facilities, including Fulshear. A lot of them were like inpatient psych stays and rehabs. And I would go to treatment and do relatively well in treatment and then leave and within a month relapse and go back to treatment. And I came across Fulshear due to like a series of unfortunate events, I guess. I had a stint of like 10 months sober, and then I had a 9-day relapse and a pretty serious overdose. And then I went to a residential mental health treatment program that also did like addiction and stuff. And then I went to a sober living, and then the sober living was like, you need a higher level of care. So they sent me back to the mental health place, and then they were like, actually, you need to go to eating disorder treatment. So then they sent me to eating disorder treatment, and then eating disorder treatment was like, well, actually, you need trauma therapy, and we can't do it here. And I had gotten a psych eval done while I was at the sober living, and the psych eval came back while I was at the eating disorder place and was like, if Maeve doesn't go to long-term treatment, she will die. So my parents started doing research and got an ed consultant and found Fulshear. And I didn't really want to go at first because they didn't allow vaping. And they didn't let me like have my phone or anything, but I eventually decided to go. And a big thing that led me to go to Fulshear was they said they wouldn't send me to the psych ward if I wasn't doing well, or like make me leave if I wasn't doing well, because that had happened at like half of the places I had been before. I would get sent to a higher level of care, and then like they wouldn't let me come back due to like my suicidality. So I got to Fulshear, and I hated it like a lot, and I was allowed to have like phone calls to call my sponsor, but really I just called my dad and told him to bring me home because I didn't want to be there. And I got found out, and I got there the week of family programming, which is where like all the clients like families come to this like big convention center, and I was just like there, and like this was when I was really struggling with like narcolepsy like stuff, so I was just like falling asleep sitting up, and I fell asleep at family programming like sitting like on a bench, and then they were like, you called your dad, and so then I got in trouble while I was half asleep. I didn't get in trouble, they just told me they knew, and then I committed to staying a week just to like try it out because I got there at an unfortunate time, and then I stayed another week and another week and another week, and after like 2 weeks I was just there, and I decided to stay, and I worked with Molly, who's now the clinical director at the apartments, but she was my therapist at the ranch, and I worked with Kat, the substance abuse or the CD, so chemical dependency counselor, and both of those were really, really great. The difference between Fulshear and the other places was I did equine therapy, and that's what like saved my life. I worked with a horse named Gabby. She's no longer there, she passed away, but I worked with her almost every day for 9 months, and totally changed my life. I came to Fulshear like not willing and not able to like really connect with anyone. Um, and I hadn't really ever had a safe relationship before. Um, and I met Gabby. And when I got there, I immediately was like, I want to work with Gabby, because I didn't see anyone else working with her. Um, and it was really sad to me. And also, like, I was just very drawn to her. Um, and working with Molly and Gabby, like, changed my life, and, like, enabled me to do EMDR and all the other types of, like, trauma therapy. But I needed, like, a stable attachment to be able to do that. I have her ashes now, and they're like right on my window over there, and I have her sign from the barn, and I have a tattoo right here of her. So that was like very impactful. So I did the equine work, which was incredible. And I tried out almost like every leadership position at the ranch. I started out as activities manager, and then recovery manager, and then I wanted to be a barn manager instead of activities manager, so I was a barn manager. And then I was not able to do it anymore because I had some chronic pain stuff going on, so I was just recovery manager. And that was a lot of fun. I was barn manager during the big freeze last winter, so we'd have to go out like every 2 hours in the middle of the night and like break through the ice in their water buckets. But it was like, Fulshear also taught me like a lot about like how to live. Like I had lived on my own before, but I didn't really like take care. Like I kind of took care. I just didn't really eat, and I kept clean, but my life wasn't organized. And like learning how to take care of other living things helped me learn to take care of myself, which was really cool. And doing EMDR was awesome. Well, it wasn't like it really sucked for a while because it's a lot of energy. But I remember I did my first session and I left and I slept for 6 hours because it's a lot. But EMDR like desensitizes traumatic memories, and so it was like really, really good for me and like also changed my life. And I was able to stay sober. I was able to have like a stable environment to get through like my first year, 18 months of sobriety, which was really necessary. I had kept trying to get sober, and I would work the steps. I'd do AA and NA and 12-step stuff, and I would work the steps, but I just couldn't stay sober no matter how hard I tried. And it was because I had outside issues, which was like mental health issues, and I was finally able to like get my mental health stable. And even if it wasn't stable, like I didn't have the opportunity to go out and like use, which is like really important for me and like my drug of choice, which is like really scary. So I had my 1 year sober at Fulshear. I have my 18 months sober at Fulshear. I'm coming up on my 2 years now, and I'm like sponsoring people, and I do corrections correspondence, so I try and sponsor people in like prisons, and I work full-time at a treatment center, at a rehab, a detox and residential, and I love my job and I'm doing well at it. So then I left the ranch and I went to the apartments, and the apartments was okay for me at first. It was just kind of rough. I like my best friend I met at the ranch, and she's my best friend now, and I had to leave her to go to the apartments for a little bit, and that was really hard. But then she came to the apartments and was my roommate, so that was awesome. And I was able to, I worked with Raymond at the apartments for a little bit, and then I ended up, and Raymond was great, and helped me a lot with like my OCD. And then I was able to go back and work with Molly again and try and do some more trauma work before I left, which was really good. I'm trying to think of what else to say. I did pretty well at the apartments. I got caught with a vape, and I wasn't allowed to have a vape, so I got my vape taken, which was upsetting. And then I had like a health scare, and I was like, if I like die from vaping, like that's so dumb, so I quit. And I've been quit since, so that wasn't as big as an issue anymore. So I was able to make like a lot of lifestyle changes for the better while working at Fulshear. Not working there, like living there. I also did PT there. I have a lot of like physical health issues, and so it was really good for them to like be able to get me to physical therapy, and just my doctor, period, I guess. Psychiatry was great. I got to meet with like the head psychiatrist, because they needed it for my insurance, and he was really good. And then the other psychiatrist was really good. Fulshear just covered like all areas for me, which is something I really needed, because I kept going to treatment center for this one thing, and then I'd get sent for this thing, and then they'd send me back, and I'd go somewhere else. And it like really like heightened that like core issue of like I am bad, because like nowhere would keep me. And Fulshear kept me the whole time. I don't think they threatened to send me to a psych ward. I don't really remember. I don't think they did. But it was, yeah, it was life-changing, and I've never been out of treatment this long. And well, I was out of treatment this long one time, but I was doing a lot of unhealthy things. And I've been out of treatment, and I have been doing well. I've been working a full-time job. I've stayed sober. I'm going to meetings. I'm working with a sponsor. I've been clean from self-harm for almost 6 months now, I think. I work with horses now. At home, I go on rides every week, and I volunteer at a barn and help out, which has been like super, super important. And I work with a wellness coach to help out with my health issues, and that's been getting a lot better. Things are going well for me, and when they don't go well, it's okay, and I don't have to have a crisis about it, and I don't really like plan to kill myself anymore, like if something small happens. We did a lot of family therapy, which was really necessary, just because I was like a kid living with addiction. My addiction started really young, and most of it was like living with my parents. And I was able to like completely rebuild my trust with my family, like doing family therapy, and also like looking into my family's core issues and like generational trauma, and like the effects of like a lot of people in my family having addiction. Like before I came home, I was like talking with my parents, and I was like, well, like what if I want to go out past like 10 p.m. And I'm like forgetting I'm an adult. And my parents were like, we don't really care. And I was like, well, can we get Life 360, like so you can just like see that I'm like not doing anything wrong? And they're like, we're not getting Life 360. And I like now I work like night, not like overnight shift, but I work like 3 p.m. to like midnight. So I get home pretty late, and it's not an issue, and I have like a key to the house. And one time after work, my friend was getting like a late night tattoo, so I just went and drove and sat with her, and I got home at 3, which is like crazy now, because I used to like sneak out a lot. And I also have been able to like build a connection with my family, where before it was a very like transactional relationship, not necessarily with like material things, but like I do this, you give me this, stuff like that. Like if I'm good for 2 weeks, will you let me like do that, you know? And it's not really like that anymore. And I like actually communicate with my family, and like we'll sit and watch TV and stuff like that, which is cool. And I'm like back in contact with like my grandparents and a couple cousins, and I hadn't really had that in a while. I burned a lot of bridges in my addiction, and now I've made my amends, and I'm in contact with a lot of people.